Welcome to the Movement Boss podcast. This is episode number 11. I am Joe Aguiar, joined by the Movement Boss herself, Karin Ravalese. Karin, what is going on?
Not much, Joe. How you doing today?
I am doing all right. It's funny, as you and I were just doing a pregame here. The way we start the show, it's just kind of, we're going to figure it out, right? We rely on my many years in the field, but we were just talking about, you and I both tripped recently and fell. And if I'm not mistaken, a couple episodes ago, you had trouble with a box. I don't know if you remember that.
I do, but I was able to catch myself.
Yes, you were.
It could have gone ugly, but it didn't.
And this is why I wanted to bring this up, because, you and I are both in our 50s. And I really feel like at this point, like health-wise, if you want to be upright and not worry about broken hips in your 60s, now's the time really, like, this is it. This is your last chance to set yourself up for good health if you really want to live into your 80s or your 90s, right? Because nobody wants to be 90 and you can't stand up straight.
No. And I'll tell you the truth, Joe. That's why I'm consistent with the stuff that I'm doing. I want to be able to set myself up for success. And, if you have a bad day, or like, for example, I fell, I'm not really hurt from it. So
I had it was kind of funny. I was cleaning my baseboard in the dining room, and I went to stand up, and we have a break front, and I don't know if the door was open or if it had come ajar while I was. All I know is as I stood up, this thing hit me dead square in the spine, which hurt like a son of a bitch. And I went forward and I hit, we have a big glass window, and I basically went face first into the window, and I thought that was the end of it. And I took 2 steps backwards to try to catch my balance. And when I did, I tripped over, basically had my legs taken out from under me by a dining room chair. I kind of landed on the dining room table, but not enough to stay on it. So I rolled off it and I fell flat on my back, where I laid for about an hour. My dog ran over to make sure that I was alive. I may have lost consciousness. I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I was pretty sore for a couple of days. I'm fine now, but again, right, I think with all the work and stuff that I've been doing,
saved you.
I'm prepared. Again, even right at the end of the wiffle ball season, I ran back first into a chain link fence, and again, that hurt, but I feel like if I wasn't taking as good a care as I have been, especially over the past year plus, I could be in some trouble there. That's the kind of concerning thing, right? Because as you get older, you have a fall. How many times now have you seen in older people a fall, and next thing you know, 6 months later, they're in real bad shape, and then it's just a rapid decline from there.
It happens. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's even older too. It could be, somebody in our age group, especially if you're kind of like not keeping up on some things, or, you add all the other things into the mix. Stress, maybe not eating like you should, maybe your sleep has been off. So all of that stuff plays into the mix as well.
This episode, we are going to talk about neck pain. A lot of people have it. And Karin, there are, I assume, many different things that could be causing someone's neck pain. It's not always as cut and dry as you might think. For instance, my computer sits on a platform, and it wasn't always that way. And after about 3 weeks of typing on my computer with it at an elevated level, I began to experience, I don't know what we almost like, what do you call that?
You said your wrists were bothering you.
Yeah,
was
like
it both wrists or
it was
just one?
Literally both wrists. And I mean, it literally was just maybe 2 weeks working at it at that angle, and I didn't realize, like, wait a minute. I think that's what's causing it.
But you knew though, because you had
I
even there was one
knew.
because when you and I we've talked about this, we have the podcast and then we've just talked about things. You're like, I wonder if it's the way I'm holding my hands, my position. And then you even noticed it yourself and you kind of changed your position a little bit. And
I
then you
did.
noticed that it went away.
I'm so much
that's
more
huge.
cognizant of things like that now. Right? I'm almost kind of like, what am I doing differently? And I thought about it. I'm like, oh, it's up and you're typing at an angle, and that's why you're feeling it. My wife, who you worked with very briefly, and we definitely got to get that going on. She sits at a desk all day.
Okay.
And she types. And she tries to be, she drinks water all day.
Okay.
Right? She tries to eat well. She tries to make sure she's sitting up straight for good posture. And yet, at the end of the day,
sure, she
has neck and back problems.
It could just be too, like especially if she's sitting for too long. If you're looking at the screen and you need to come closer to the screen and you just move your head forward and you maybe like jut your chin out a little bit, that is going to give you serious neck pain if you're constantly doing that, right? Or if you have like a couple of screens and you're just kind of positioning to one side all the time, you're always looking to the right or you're always looking to the left and you're just like whipping your head back and forth and you don't turn your body. So that's another thing. Or just kind of caving into what you're doing. Like you're just like this. It's just really trying to put yourself in a good position. Especially if you have to be there for a long period of time.
Okay.
But just getting up and down off your chair, like that's one of the things that I would say to somebody that has to sit down, like say they have a job where they're there 8 hours a day and they're just working, just get up and down off your chair. Just get up and down or go to the wall and just try to do like push-ups on the wall, keep yourself in a good position. Don't let your head come forward and things like that, especially someone who has neck pain or head pain. They may be more prone to letting their head lead the movement and things like that. See, I'm talking about this stuff because I was guilty of doing this too. Like I felt like I couldn't get up without using my neck. I remember saying, why the hell do I even have any other muscles in my body? Because I'm using my neck for everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another thing, not to make everybody like super like hyper aware of everything, but what are you doing every day? Because that's kind of going to dictate your pattern. So if, you may be sitting at your desk for 8 hours of the day, but are you getting up off out of bed using your neck? Are you using it when you pick something up off the floor? Like, so that's what it comes down to, is like retraining the pattern, retraining the movement pattern that kind of got you into trouble with something, that's going to work for you a little bit better. So that's, kind of my
interestingly enough, you asked me earlier if I ever have neck pain, and I said no. I told you about an incident that happened like 30 years ago.
Yeah, it sucks.
But and you just reminded me, I call these boxing tournaments every 3 months.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there ringside and I'm looking forward for, I don't know, I want to say it's about 5 hours worth of the day.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you what, I wake up the next day and my neck hurts so bad.
Interesting.
And it's because
so just by me,
I do just as you just said that, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, oh my god, my neck always hurts, and it's literally like I'm sitting there, and it's a boxing match, and as they kind of get in close,
you can't help
I move in closer, and I usually have a monitor with different cameras, so I'm also watching, right, and so
turning your head,
and I'm looking, and I quick down, you know what I mean, and what is happening there? And again, it's that same kind of motion. Is it literally just
it's just, you're just overusing it, and it could be anything in the back. We have tons of muscles that extend our head in the back. So it could be who knows which one it is. You'd have to, ask the person specifically, like what their, symptoms would be. And where there's tightness and stuff, and what's kind of driving their complaint, and things like that, because there is a lot of stuff back there, so I wouldn't know what one in particular would be. I'd have to ask you a series of questions. But I mean, it's easy to do. It's quick, right? You're just moving most people are going to move their head.
Oh, sure.
Without moving their body.
Is there something I should do at the next one? Is there, I mean, should I be stretching in between fights, or, I mean, is it just inevitably going to happen just by virtue of the constant movement?
I would just say maybe just try whatever, I guess one of the rule of thumb would probably be for you would be just do the opposite of what you've been doing, because it's not that any position is really bad. It's like, it's when you keep staying there and maybe you don't do the opposite all the time, so if you find yourself, with your head forward so much, think about bringing your head back. I'm not saying to do those chin tucks or anything like that, but, maybe move around a little bit, or be more conscious of, if you do have to turn and look, turn your whole body. Don't just whip your head around, and try to think about moving as a unit, as opposed to letting your head, do all the movement, like forward and backward and side, move your whole body, which is going to be kind of weird, but you might find that being a little bit more effective for you.
It's funny. The last time I did it, I called the boxing fights, and then the next day I had this super sore neck, and I said to my wife, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing at these boxing things, but my neck always feels like crap the next day, and it just did not compute for her. Incidentally, I went to work the next day.
Yep.
And the guy that I do the show with used to be a mobile DJ.
Okay.
And I mentioned to him my neck was sore, and he goes, "Oh, I totally get that." He goes, "Sometimes when I was DJing, again, you're kind of focused head this way the whole time."
You can see it right there. You can see.
He would all the time. He would get that really bad soreness in his neck.
Well, you're like literally like chin jutting like the whole time, like doing that. Like, of course that's going to hurt, And then from the other perspective, like you think about it when we're looking at our phones or if we're reading a book and stuff, we have our head down like this.
Yeah.
Like bring it up to you and read this way. So that's another thing too.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I got to tell you, I'm very cognizant of not looking down at my phone.
Bring your phone
I always try to keep everything up here at eye level, because I know, again, that this is, I mean, you're feeling it just in dropping it. I could already feel the strain on my neck, and I don't like the way that feels.
See, you have good awareness. You and I've talked about like so many things. So now we're going to add your neck into it. It's like, oh my God. It would have all of a sudden you're like, damn, Karin.
I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff, the more I talk to Karin, the more it's like, again, you start to notice things and you pick up things. And if you start kind of getting into bad habits with things, it really, I mean, you mentioned being more cognizant. I mean, it really does, again, not like I've learned a lot about this, but again, right. And talking to you, I have a really strong understanding of the basics. And I mean, even the other day, I was telling my wife, I'm like, we got to get you hooked up with Karin here, because
I told you I would. I'd love to.
She's like, "Oh, it hurts right here," and it's like, well, that might not be where the problem is. That's where you're feeling it. That's not necessarily where it's emanating from. Like I've learned that, and
yeah, well, that's it too, and especially if it's both sides of the body, like every time something's both sides of the body, it's a core, it's coming from the core. So that needs to be addressed first, first and foremost, because you have to have that center line of stability. You have to be able to hold we have, just to give you a little quick thing here, we have four curves in our spine. And there's two of them that we were born with, right? We're born in like a fetal position, and we have to earn the right, to be able to like extend. So that's where our cervical curve and our low back curve comes in, our lumbar curve. And then the other ones is our thorax, right? Which is more biasing towards here. And then the sacral area. So the whole time we're really trying to manage that. We're trying to manage our four curves. And it's important because we don't want to put too much pressure on one spot over the other. Because when we do, well, first of all, like if someone's, for example, since we're talking about the neck today, if someone's hinging on a certain spot in their neck, they're going to get the perception maybe of an issue in their neck, but they're still going to affect all the other spinal levels, because you can't just affect just one part and not think you're going to affect the other. So we want to really make sure that we can share. We always, in ID, we always talk about load sharing, that's like a really big key that they talk about. But, that's essentially what you're doing. You're trying to share the love between your spine, because you don't want to put too much pressure in that one area, because you have nerves and arteries and veins coming out of these segments. So when we do that, people can get like really fun things like, neuritis, right? So now the nerves are all lit up. They're annoyed at you, right? And then the more you start stepping on a nerve or something, then eventually you're going to lose it, and you're going to get like numbness and tingling in your hands. You may have grip loss, right? You may not get to the point where it's numb and tingling yet, right? And we're just talking about the neck with regards to, because the neck innervates the shoulder, and then it goes into the hands. So it's really important to try to really be able to keep in the best alignment as you can with that person's particular body and anatomy, because, we're living our life and we're doing different things, and people sometimes have had operations and surgeries. So you just really just try to work within whatever that person's limit is, because you can prevent yourself from getting more damage. So, I mean, that's, just a way to think about it.
Incidentally, if you are dealing with neck problems or neck issues, Karin here is looking to do some case studies. And so we would be very interested in talking to you. If you agree to let this all be filmed, you would make an excellent case study person. And if somebody was interested in doing that, I mean, you can obviously comment, or how else can they get in touch with you?
Send me an email at Karin@revoltandmove.com. And just say that you heard about this on the podcast, and, you're interested in, potentially talking about a case study.
So what are you looking to do with these case studies? Because I know obviously you're going to be teaching some classes, and you're going to be doing some things. So let's say I was like, hey, I want to be in your case study, and I've got some neck problems. Talk me through this a little bit. What kind of things are you going to be doing?
Well, I would do a movement assessment. I would want to see how you move with your neck, how you go forward and backwards, side to side, maybe how you might turn your head, other functional tests that I would do. And this would be like a learning opportunity for other students who've take this coursework. Just going through the actual process, and then they would have that to use, to help with their clients or case studies, which I really would be interested in that, because first of all, it would obviously help someone, because they would obviously get the exercises and things, and it would be the ability to be able to help students that are learning the material, because it's challenging. And I just got back from San Francisco yesterday morning, assisting ID4, which it's Immaculate Dissection. It's neck, jaw, and hand concepts. So where we cover like the neck, we cover the jaw, and then the hyoids, suprahyoid and infrahyoid region, which is in this area here. We actually found something with you on that.
I remember that.
With swallowing and vocalization, things like that. And then hand concepts, because we're covering the hand, because the hand, when you think about it, if you have an issue with the neck, you have any kind of compression in there, right? We talked about the TOS and the interscalene, remember, with interscalene triangle and things like that. So you can actually give yourself impede upon the brachial plexus, and which innervates the whole upper extremity. So that's why that's together. It's a really, really great course. I enjoyed it. I actually did a segment. I was actually happy. My mentor asked me if I was interested in teaching a segment, so I did. And I love the material, and I know how annoying it is to have like neck pain and not have like an answer to it, and not know really what to do. And I found these strategies helpful myself. That's one of the reasons why I decided to get into this and be involved with teaching and, you know, working with people on it, because it really sucks when you're trying your hardest to, you know, you're playing a sport or you're active or whatever it is, and you're actually actively trying to work on this. You're going to see people, and it's just not, you're not getting to like the real deal. Like, you know what I mean? It's never like 100%. And, you know, working with this and finding out about this and really doing the deep dive has been extremely helpful. So I want to provide that for somebody else, and especially in a teaching environment. Like, I really enjoy doing that. So
when it comes to neck and back, again, I haven't had many issues. I've gone to see a chiropractor a couple of times, and I gotta tell you, hated it.
Some people don't like it.
It
some people
doesn't
do.
feel good. I really didn't enjoy any of that, and because of that, I have mostly neglected my neck and back.
Well, do you have a neck and back problem?
No, but I mean, my back is always, you know, I mean, I do a lot of stuff where my back is sore, you know, and like in a perfect world, if I enjoyed what happens at a chiropractor, I would probably periodically want to go. But I usually, like, I would leave there, and after they do the things that they do, I would feel worse than when I got there.
Oh, wow, that's not good.
Both times, totally different people.
Okay.
And I'm, again, understand, I'm going there thinking like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yep.
And I leave there and I'm like, this sucks. I hate this.
See, it just depends. I think it depends on the person, because there's people that, you know, have good responses with that, you know. So I don't think there's anything wrong with a chiropractor at all. You know, I think, you know, if somebody's doing these activities, then they should probably follow up with some type of a stabilizing exercise, because, you know, let's just say if somebody's adjusting something, or even like, let's take it to the level of a massage, right? You know, they're massaging, they feel tight tissue, they're massaging it and stuff like that. Well, if the body has some tight tissue and it's like actually really tight, then it's tight for a reason. And it's trying to like create some stability for you. So if you take that away and you don't replace it with something else, of course you're going to feel more like crap. You know, you may feel good for that one moment,
right? But
then afterwards, like, it's going to come back rearing, because your body's like, what the hell are you doing? You just took away it. You know, there's been an analogy that, you know, that they've used where it's like peeling your hands off of a cliff. Like, if you're hanging and you're peeling the person's hands off of a cliff, like, what's going to eventually happen, right? They're going to be like, oh, you're going to grab on more, right? So, you know, and that was always a concept too. That's like a concept that I learned myself, because I had done some of that where I was like stretching my neck. My neck was like bothering me so much, but I didn't need to do that. I had to re-coordinate, because I was using my neck so much that I was, you know, it was part of my core. It was like my core, basically, essentially. So, you know, once I can kind of calm that down a little bit and build some, you know, strength and try to coordinate things properly, you know, things started to, you know, fall in place a little bit better. But it's, you know.
Can you explain what a stiff neck is? I've probably in my lifetime, I've had like 6 times where, for a variety of reasons. And I would tell you, I think the overarching theme to all of these incidences is stress.
Oh, let me tell you something. It's so true.
Is it? Okay.
Oh my God. The cervical, like the cervical stuff is more like prone to like intensify stuff, just because, and you think about it, right? It's really close to the brain and things like that. You know, there's a lot of like, have you ever heard of the sympathetic nervous system? I think we talked about that thing, right? We talked about the sympathetic and the nervous and the parasympathetic, right? The parasympathetics like rest and digest, you know, try to calm you down. Sympathetics is like, you know, if you're stressed out or, you know, running from a tiger type thing. And kind of like we're always running from modern day tigers, right? Your body doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So the sympathetic chain, there's several parts of it. It runs kind of like on the surface here. So one of the neck muscles, and I actually have a picture there that I actually talked about during the coursework, has the sympathetic chain. There it is there. But I want to show you, that's this longest coli muscle. See how it's like on the vertebrae?
Yeah.
So it runs from like the top of your skull. It goes all the way down, even goes a little bit into your thorax. So this is a pretty big muscle, right? It's right on the front of the vertebrae and things like that, which in this muscle is really weak in a lot of people that have these headaches, neck aches, things like that. So I want you to call up the next picture with all the little nerves in it and stuff like that. Okay. So you remember that picture, right? So that's the same muscle. See the muscle there that's on the side there? Look at all these little nerves that are kind of running through them. Those are like the sympathetic chain. So if that muscle's tight, okay, that is going to irritate those nerves. So you can get like feelings of like anxiety, worriness, like sweating, like a lot of sympathetic type of things. And it could be based off of that. So when people like, have this forward head posture and things like that, that could be an indication. So like, that's a question that I would ask somebody, if they maybe have neck pain, like, oh, hey, do you happen to feel anxious? Do you have, do you feel anxious or worried or things like that? And kind of in conjunction with that, because of this relationship, because of that. That doesn't mean that that's the person's sole problem. Like, oh, you have a neck problem, that's why you're anxious. No, I'm not saying that's the case, but it could contribute.
I was going to say, I mean, listen, my wife's
like,
sitting there.
Target
my wife's sitting there typing and stressing out about all of the stuff in our lives and right, is anxious about all sorts of things. I would imagine that that's probably only contributing to whatever's going on with that. But I mean, again, she seems to suffer from that. Like, I mean, it's a daily thing.
Well, I mean, I told you I would love to talk to her. And, what happens is when people lose the core stability, like from the center, like, you know what I mean? It could be diaphragm stuff too, right? Remember I told you the diaphragm, right? These muscles, they're so important. They're so key and they're easily thrown off because of our daily pressures. And then a lot of times the next thing, now the neck, you're falling forward because you can't hold yourself up because you've lost a little bit of your intrinsic support. And this is another reason why I do like bringing this stuff up, because it opens up opportunity for more collaboration and more partnerships with other disciplines.
Yeah.
Like you think of someone who is a mental health practitioner, mental health professional, or somebody who's doing talk therapy with somebody that has a license and stuff like that. We had Chris Griffin on here. How important would that be? And how cool would that be for somebody to be having this talk therapy with somebody and then doing movement strategies with this? Like, I think the person would have a lot of self-empowerment and be able to have some strategies to be able to help themselves, not so much, from that perspective, and then from a movement perspective. So this is why I like getting on here and talking about this. And again, I know I've always said this to you, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, because I think it's important. And I think there's so much they can do to help themselves. And a lot of times the way things are presented in this world is that people have no hope and no choice. And that's BS. They do.
I'm glad you brought this picture up.
And I'll tell you this too. I want to be part of the solution, not the part of the
problem.
All
right.
You know what I mean? With other people that are working with people. So it's not like I'm a sole entity. There's other people that can be brought into the mix to help someone.
As I look at this picture, again, my wife is like, oh, like the muscles really sore. And I'm like, you understand that there's nerves and arteries, and some of that stuff is woven up and around some of the bones. And again, going back to my very initial situation, where my shoulder, got sort of compressed, and to think the pain that caused and how quick we were able to relieve it. But I think the biggest thing that I learned there was, I know this sounds stupid, I don't really think about what's under my skin, right? It's like, oh, there's muscle under there. Well, also tissue and nerves and veins and arteries. And I mean, there's all
Hmm.
sorts of things going on. And again, you see some of these pictures, Karen, and again, you see where things are intertwined and crossed over and where, things are running under and between bones. And it's very easy to irritate those things. And where, again, you think it might be a muscle, that might not necessarily be the case.
No, and when we talked about the TOS, the thoracic outlet syndrome, I mean, you're in certain positions, you're affecting the actual artery and the veins as well. So, it's just, I'd like to even have like people to talk about, like even a doctor, because like you might have to address that stuff too. You don't know if it could be something serious, especially with that when you're dealing in that area and things like that. But yeah, I think it's important, and especially with that the neck area, a lot of people sometimes want to kind of sway away from it. And then, when you're thinking about the dentist, especially orthodontists, braces and palate expanders and stuff like that. So, you're changing the positioning. So it's like you're thinking about, the whole complex, how it is together, like the neck and the jaw, the head and these things. So, just really, creating the awareness and just, letting people know that there are some things that you can still do.
One of the things I love about this show, and we talk about this a lot, and we do a lot of times focus on the weekend warriors, the people who, spend their weekends baseball, football, soccer, basketball, golf, whatever your spare time fun might be. But there's a lot of people, again, sort of like my wife, people in corporate America who aren't really involved in sports, who are also struggling with muscle issues and other pains and stuff. And this is a call out to you because, you might be thinking to yourself, like another day at the office and you're going to come home all sore. Again, that doesn't have to be your reality. And the longer you allow that to go on, the worse things are going to get. That's why you want to get in touch with Karin because, again, there's oftentimes, I don't want to say there's a quick fix. I don't think that's not the word I want to use, but there's things that you could be doing, A, to avoid those sorts of things, and then B, to relieve the pain that you're feeling.
Well, at least, take some of the edge off. But you are right about what you're saying too, Joe, because it really just depends. Like sometimes, it could be quicker for someone else, and then it could take somebody else, a couple more times. It just really just depends. And, it even depends too. Like if somebody has some kind of a structural thing going on, that might be where it could take a little bit longer. But I still feel like people can definitely make some changes or prevent, more issues from happening.
Yeah, well, again, right, and that's why I think, and for anybody who is listening or watching this podcast, you really do have to take responsibility of your health, right? I mean, I think if you are struggling with things, if you do have issues, there is a tendency for a lot of people, and for a variety of reasons. Maybe you don't have health insurance. Or maybe you're just poor and you don't think you have the money to go out and seek treatment, and you're kind of resigned to the idea that pain's just no pain, no gain, they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stress to you enough what a disservice you're doing to yourself, not only now, but for your long-term prognosis. I mean, I was telling somebody earlier today about a friend of mine who passed away a few years ago. And this guy never took care of himself. Turns out he had a heart attack about 4 years before he died that he just powered right through. and he never went and got treatment for it until literally about 3 months before he died. He went and the doctors were like, "Oh my God, like, how are you even standing? This doesn't
Really?
even make sense." Yeah, they put stents in his heart, and then they noticed his liver was failing. And
Ooh.
I mean, just about every organ this guy
Mm.
had some issue or another, and it all stemmed from the heart attack that was never properly diagnosed or treated, and it just compounded all the problems. Now, he was also in the midst of retiring, found a house, he bought it. It was in Paradise, Texas, a beautiful, beautiful place down in Texas. And unfortunately, he never got out of Connecticut. He never actually bought the house, and he never ended up going to see it because he passed away. I mean, he was retired, I want to say 4 to 5 months, and was gone. And he had worked his whole life to set him up so that he could retire with his dogs in a nice piece of property, quiet, away from people, because he hated people, and he was right. But again, you're going to work your whole life. You're not going to take sick days, and you're going to power through illnesses, and you're not going to take your life seriously. And you're going to get to the end. And look, maybe you got a nice little nest egg to retire on. It's not going to do any good if you have no health and you only live for 4 months.
Yeah, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. That,
We'll talk on that. Again, for somebody who's sitting there right now who doesn't take their health seriously, what would you say? What would you say to motivate somebody to and again, I think for a lot of people, it's like, it almost seems like it's too hard. It's too much work. I think a lot of people feel that way. I've done all sorts of different diets, and they all require different amounts of prep. And it's like, is this worth it? And then I'm like, well, I want to lose weight, or I want to change the way I'm eating. Yeah, if I have to put 10 or 15 minutes of prep time into my meal, that's good for me. I should do that. It's to my own benefit. Why wouldn't I?
Well, you know what it is too, Joe. I think you have to be ready to do it, to be committed to it. This is how I would feel about something. It's like, we all know what we shouldn't be doing or we should be doing, and vice versa. But I feel like you really have to be like ready to do it. Okay. But there's no saying that you can't, like, why can't you just do 5 minutes of something? No one's saying you have to do 60 minutes of something, or you have to like, just be like, okay, like, if we're going to talk diet, like, oh, you can never eat a sweet again. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But be consistent on something that's a healthy thing for you that maybe you want to do. Like, maybe, you want to, I don't know, exercise or something. You say, oh, I'd like to exercise. Well, do 5 minutes if you can. I feel like, at least, for me and some people I've talked to, sometimes if someone tells you have to do something, it's almost like you just don't want to do it. Like, I had a conversation with one of my friends the other day, and they said they did 75 hard, right? She asked me if I ever did 75 hard, and I said, no, I never did. And she said, I did it. And I said, really? She goes, Karin, you're not going to believe this. She goes, I'm not really one who eats sweets. She goes, I'd rather have chips or something like that, And so she said, when I found out that you couldn't have sweets, she goes, don't you know that I wanted them so bad? I craved it. It was terrible. Like, it was awful, she said. But she made it through. But she said that she felt afterwards, after she was done with it, she went like on a rampage. So she, so I don't think everything is for everybody, pretty much, and I think you have to do what works for you, and you have to be realistic with yourself. And, I really believe that's what it comes down to, and no judgment on people.
A couple of weeks ago on this show, you said that even though you know better, don't always do the right thing, whether it's exercise or eating certain things.
Yeah. I'm not perfect either. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I am.
I think I told you about, and unfortunately she retired, but I had this amazing doctor.
You did. Yep.
And I mean, I just thought the world of her. And again, one of the things she said to me was, she was like, like, if you want to have ice cream, but just don't eat the whole tub. And I thought, I didn't know you could do that.
There you go. See, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly.
You're
the
saying
type of
I could have a few bites and put the lid back on and finish it another day? Yeah. Right? It's like, you don't have to cut these things out. You don't have to completely change your diet. But, right, again, if a couple of days a week you're exercising, if right now, what my deal is, I don't eat sweets during the week.
Remember you saying that,
No
but you want to
candy,
do it though.
no ice cream. Karen, if I
Mhm.
could, I would be eating that shit right now.
Oh, okay.
I would be stuffing my face. Couple of things. I don't digest them well, so I won't feel, especially ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Do you think like it's because of the amount that you're eating that maybe is the problem?
I
mean, if
again,
you had a couple little bowl,
don't-
what do you think?
I
You
don't
what
know
mean?
because I've never. No, I'm just kidding.
I know,
Yeah,
but I'm thinking I'm being honest about that because I know with myself too. Sometimes I'm like, oh, my stomach's hurting me, but it's like, okay, well, maybe you just ate a little bit too much.
It
Then you
very
should've.
well,
Yeah.
very well could be that. But again, I mean, I almost want to say I'm almost trying to discipline myself, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? I like getting through the week, eating well, because I wake up at 4:00 in the morning, and I don't like it. Okay, I don't do it to be awesome. I don't do it to go exercise. I have to go to work. I have to be at work for 5 a.m. And it's not, but again, it's like if I wake up and I've eaten a good meal and I didn't eat sweets last night, there's a 0% chance I'm going to wake up feeling like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
I know for a fact if I eat rice and chicken and I drink water at dinner, that I'm going to wake up and my stomach is still full and I feel good and I get in the shower, right? And my day is off and running. On days where I haven't necessarily eaten the night before, I wake up and I already don't feel awesome. And it's a long day when you start it at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to sleep better. Another thing, right? I mean, again, not that I necessarily go to bed early, but I don't eat within a few hours of going to bed.
Okay.
I try to make sure I eat and I give myself at least an hour, hour and a half before I would even think about laying down for bed, just because, again, I know what kind of works for me. I know how I feel. And it's like, through a lifetime of experience, again, this isn't like me being like, I know what works and what doesn't. And Monday through Friday, when I wake up, I want to feel good and I've got a long day ahead of me. And I need to put myself in the best possible position. On the weekends, I'm extremely active. I do a lot of sports. I'm much more likely to do some sort of working out or some kind of physical activity. That's part of the reason why I feel like on the weekends, I can have some cookies or I can eat ice cream, and again, on the weekend is when I'm most likely to be at someone's birthday party or at some kind of an event where I am going to be offered that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to say no because I'm Italian and it's rude.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah. Well, not only that.
What are you going to do?
You like food. You like food. So what are you going to do?
Cannot offend people. You got to eat. So again, I try. And again, I'm going to credit you with a lot of this, but I mean, I'm much more cognizant of all of these things. I think about these things. And it is difficult. But again, I'm 50 and I don't want to die at 55.
Yeah, I don't want you to.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
So, right. It's like, I feel like now I need to keep putting myself in the best position possible to feel the best that I can at any given time.
Well, okay. Do you do any activity during the week? You're just kind of doing stuff, on the weekends is what you're saying?
All right. So I have weights over there. And very often when I'm here, especially if I'm editing and if I'm editing video, there's a process in video editing for anybody who understands video editing where you have to sequence a video. And that is a process where you basically just sit there and watch the screen. And so I'll go over, I'll grab my weights and I'll work out. And then when you export, that's another lengthy process where the video is basically finalizing itself.
Okay.
The computer is all but useless at this point. And so again, and this would be any day during the week, I would go over there and bang the weights for a few minutes or do some squats with the weights or whatever.
Okay.
Just whatever I'm feeling or whatever I think needs to be worked. But definitely on the weekends, I'm extremely active. There's not we're not a lying around on the weekend family here at all.
No, that's great. So you're basically always down here more often?
I do most of my work either from here or at the studio at the radio station.
Oh, so you actually have plenty of room over there that I can see.
Yeah.
So you can do like a little routine there. I could give you a routine to do if you want. If you're
I would
interested.
love a routine.
Yeah, I definitely could, because you can just it wouldn't be a lot either. It would not be a lot.
That's right up my alley.
As long as you're consistent and you're doing things that favor like real life movements instead of trying to do, all these like crazy things sometimes. It's just working on the basics and building off of the basics.
Gotcha.
And incorporating some breathing and breathing drills into it too with you. So I could definitely show you something if you're interested. That won't really be a big deal for you. That manageable, something you can do.
I got to tell you too, the breathing stuff is another one of those things, much like
probably what saves your behind.
Much like arteries under bones, things that you would never think of. You and I have had so many conversations about breathing. And, again, in the course of having those conversations, I was working out with a trainer who I remember him saying, make sure you breathe, Joe. And it was like, suddenly I had 1,000 flashes in my brain of all the times where I'm working out or doing something physical. And I realized there's this common theme where I hold my breath when I'm doing it. Oh my God.
Yep. And you didn't realize it before. And don't you feel more stronger when you're doing things like when you're coordinating your breathing with your movement? Remember, because you're a fast learner and you got things very quickly. Remember that one day where I had my sandbags here.
Yep.
And we were kind of going through that. And when I was talking to you about the breathing, to add the breathing in at certain, times when you were doing the stuff, did you feel more strong and more stable? Because when you weren't breathing and you were just trying to like get through the exercise, you couldn't get up.
Do you know what I always thought when they were like, breathe, like that they just wanted you to make some noise? You know what I mean? It's like squat. I never really took that part of working out seriously. It was more like,
well, because no one ever tells you really
right.
What
it was
to
almost
do.
like the last step of the exercise is like it's a whole separate thing, and it's like, oh, do you not understand why you're doing that? Why you're releasing your breath like that? And again, that's why
no one never tells you. Like I did.
There you go.
You just, and you're not gonna pay it any mind. You're not gonna even think about it, or maybe addressing it, because you're like, so what? Doesn't mean squat to me. But when somebody talks to you about it and lets you see what it looks like when you don't do it, then you're like, oh crap. So it's like you have to see it and feel it for yourself.
Yeah.
Just like with me, I'm the same type of person. Like I have to learn and understand it and feel it in my own body too. Like, that's one of the reasons why I would talk to somebody about this, not just talking about it and just being like, oh, you have to do it, but I don't. Like, no, that's
right.
That's so not the case.
Again, if you are interested in being part of a case study, which would get you treatment in exchange for allowing us to record your workout and whatever other things are being done for you. So if you are currently, and right now we're focusing on neck pain, that's Karin's next course study. So if you have been suffering from neck pain and you've tried some different things and it's still kind of nagging, it's still going on there, and you're interested what she has to say, I got to tell you, again, for me,
we could check you out after the call if you want.
Oh,
just
yeah.
the back of it, just
absolutely
go through the whole shebang.
I'm telling you, it's, listen, I think at the very least, I think for people to get an analysis, I'm sure something is bothering you. And again, in many of these cases, there's just some stretching, it's nothing you can't remember. It's nothing that you couldn't write down and do when you're in need. And again, I think the best part of what you're doing, again, to go back to why are we breathing? Why are we exhaling on the way out? Is the fact that you explain things.
Mm-hmm.
And when you explain things and it makes sense, I think that's part of what's made me more cognizant of
Mm-hmm.
everything, is just because, again, we talk about it. I'm aware of it. It's got me thinking about it. And I catch myself when things come up that I never, ever know. I mean, I know for a fact. I mean, for most of the last 40 years, these are things I've basically ignored
Mm-hmm.
completely.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I was, doing the same similar things myself too. That's how I got involved in this in the first place.
Isn't that great?
It is. It is great. It really is great. It's good when you can kind of try to get on top of things and hopefully slow down. Who knows what progression I may have slowed down with my own neck, because like I said, I was having the problems that was bothering me. I told you I was training for a certification, and like my neck and my shoulder were really bothering me, and I worked on something that I had never worked on before. Someone talked to me about something that I never really knew about, and I'm like, oh wow, that's so interesting. I'd like to learn more about that. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad it is, because it's really worked out. We're 9 days away from Christmas, and
Wow.
it's the most wonderful time of the year, but it's also a very stressful time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let your self-care go to the wayside, especially if you're, focused on other people right now, as many of us parents are right now. It's easy to sort of put your own health to the side, but I forget who it was that said this to me. Oh, you know who? I'll tell you exactly who it was. It was our friend Allison from the Cove Center for Grieving Children, sending love and best wishes to her and Mike right now.
Yeah.
But she was explaining to me at the Cove, the whole idea of, what it is that the Cove Center for Grieving Children, they provide free grief counseling for children. And they've also, like, they've got classes for parents, right? Like, if your spouse dies and you have a child,
Yeah.
the other spouse, the living spouse, should also be getting some treatment. And as Allison explained, how are you going to take care of your kid if you're an emotional wreck? And so
that's tough.
Shout out to the Cove and Allison. But again, I think the same concept applies here. If you don't take your health seriously and you've got people in your life that you have to look after, if you're not taking care of yourself, what happens if something happens to you? What happens to those people? So that's why, again, I think your self-care and your health, it's something that you really, really, really have to take seriously. And I think getting an assessment from Karin could go a long way towards, hey, you know what? Maybe you find out things are better than you thought they were. That's a best case scenario. That'd be nice. Probably not going to happen, but you never know. But I think just to get the information and, I think that's so important.
Even me, like, I just overall wellness, just to make sure that, I'm just staying consistent and steady with what I'm doing. And so just being consistent. That's all, that's it.
You ready for the holidays?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just, I just can't believe it's already the 16th.
I know.
It's just so crazy. I mean, next week is what? The 23rd? Oh, the 23rd, right?
It'll be the 23rd.
Oh my
God.
Crazy. I don't know where it is,
Boy, this one ripped by. This year just went by so unbelievably fast.
Joe, I'm laughing because I want to tell you this. We still got a few minutes, right? My sister, right? When I saw my sister, was it yesterday? Yeah, when I came home yesterday, she's like, finally, she doesn't like to tell me stuff, like if something bothers her, because she doesn't really, she doesn't want me to give her any exercise. She doesn't sometimes really want to do them because she's just like, they're so annoying, but you know what, they work, but I just don't feel like I want to do them, whatever. So she started talking to me about her head bothering her and stuff. So I asked her a question, And she's like, yes, I know exactly what it is. Cause she said to me, she goes, all the stuff that you've said to me before, all the questions that you've asked me, she goes, I have that.
Oh my God. That's
She's like,
hilarious.
I have that in my head. She was like, oh my God. Like, it's so funny with your family, like when they hear you talk or you've asked them questions when they say something, or they hear you talking to someone else.
Yeah.
Or, like, do you have like C-shaped pain going across, like just like stuff like that? Oh, do your teeth hurt? Your front, is it the top teeth or the bottom teeth? And she's like, yes, oh my God, I hear you in my head, and I even almost know what it is. Blah, 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 so I think it's just, I just thought that was kind of funny, that to what you've talked about, that the fact that you kind of know, because maybe somebody talked to you or gave you an exercise, or maybe it's not a problem for you now and you're good and you're doing your thing, and then maybe 5 months down the line you have the problem again, you know what to do now. You
Right.
have it, So we actually even talked about that at the coursework this weekend, where my mentor was mentioning that one of her clients had the video. So she was whatever she was going through before, she was working on it, and then other things happened and the problem came back again. But she had the video from, I don't know, 5-6 months ago, from when she was working with her. So she's like, oh, I just did the video, that I remember the video you gave me. So I used it again and it helped me and I felt better. So it's like, that's being able to take some accountability for yourself and know and be able to use it. So that's where all this kind of stuff is stemming from too, as well. So it's not just like you're a one and done, and, at least if you kind of had that issue again, now you have something you can utilize without having to run and call somebody or feel like you have nothing.
I'm telling you, when something happens to you and you're alone and it really hurts, and maybe it's late in the evening time, you're not going to be able to go see anybody anytime soon. It is nice to have those things in the back of your, where you're like, hey, I know this, I know some things that I can do. Yeah, right.
You have those exercises now. So God, if that happens to you again, you can
work
recreate some of the stuff that we did, and potentially it could help you. I mean, you know what you do. Like, a lot of times, especially if you're prone to doing that, and it goes back to like, hey, maybe you're good for 10 bats and now you do the 11th bat, and now, oh, my shoulder, I moved the wrong way, or you didn't sleep good the night before, or you had a fight with a coworker or something, you know what I mean? So it's like all of that stuff kind of, plays into it.
Even if I'm golfing or playing baseball, man, it's rips from the left, and then I switch them up. And
see, that's great. You do that. No, a lot of people don't do that.
Always do that now.
That's smart. That's so smart.
Ever since I met you, it's like, why wouldn't you do both sides?
Yep. I do. Like when I was practicing like my forms and stuff, I always do both sides. I start, usually a lot of them typically start from the left first, but I always do the left and then I do the right. And then if I'm like just doing any kind of movement, I always do both sides. Always. I never just do one side.
I'm telling you, you could learn so much about your body and really take control of your health. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, really. I mean, again, I think just, as we're starting to battle age, get a handle on it now, because as far as I've seen, Karin, age is undefeated.
I agree. And they don't have to even be on our age group. I mean, there's even people that are young, that are like in their teenage years, or, early 20s, or, that are experiencing, backache. Like my nephew's 15 and his back bothers him sometimes. Like, so, I mean,
you don't have to live with pain.
Doesn't help sometimes when you're sitting down too much and things like that, So.
Again, it could be something minor. You might as well just come get a free assessment. That is my advice to you. Karin Ravalese, as far as I'm concerned, is like she just knows her stuff, and she'd like to share that with you. Where can they find you, Karin? Tell them where the website is.
The website is revoltandmove.com, or you can email me at Karin at revoltandmove.com. And that's Karin with an I, but it's okay if they don't put the I because it automatically will default. But it's Karin at revoltandmove.com.
Did you know she was a Karin?
Probably didn't think about it. Did you know? You knew, right?
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew. Karens are those ladies that are always like, no, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
The Karins are cool people.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, definitely. No Karin hair. I don't have the blonde hair. Aren't they usually the ladies with the blonde hair and like the short, like bobby hairdos and stuff? Yeah, I'm not.
That's them. You knew it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this week's episode. I'm glad we got back in the saddle.
I know.
Couple of weeks off.
We
obviously,
did.
with the holidays, things are a little bit off, but
weddings,
we appreciate everybody hanging and being on back here. A big thank you to Karin Ravalese for all that you do and for sharing all your great knowledge. Again, I would highly advise you go out there and fill out the assessment form, and it's worth at least having a conversation. And
definitely.
Karin will she'll do good by you. That's all I can tell you. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. For the Movement Boss, Karin Ravalese, I am Joe Aguiar. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week on the Movement Boss Podcast.
Have a good night.